I wanted to play Lawyer for Workers update. Here we go.
Better than TV. Hollywood writers can't make this stuff up. Wait until you hear what the eyewitness testimony was this morning at the Tory Lane Street. They asked Mr. Kelly, do you know why you're here? He said, absolutely. The defense attorney put up a picture of the back of his home. You could see a driveway. They had him draw a square where the SUV was parked. It was right on the curb of the back of his house, 10, 15 feet. His window is overlooking it. He stepped out onto his Juliet balcony and he watched for several minutes as Meg the Stallion and Kelsey, the two females, he didn't identify them by name, got out of the car and they were engaged in a fight. It was violent. It was quite aggressive. It started with arguing that woke him up in the middle of the night. Where his house is, often him and his son are woken up in the middle of the night by people who stop in and around the back of his home. This was another night, arguing, escalation, two women fighting. He watched the whole thing while standing on his balcony. Oh my God, it gets crazier. As he looked down on a fight that he described as quite violent, he then saw the larger gentleman, this is presumably the security guard Quan, come and violently try to separate them. Eventually, all four were involved in what he called an aggressive, everyone fighting, essentially just a melee, a free-for-all between four people in the middle of the night, right outside of his back window. He said at one point he saw one woman go back towards into the car. At that point, he saw a muzzle flash. Then he said there was a man, and after the first few shots from the woman came off, he saw the man getting involved with the woman and more shots went off. On cross-examination, the prosecutor asked him, did you see the man shoot? He said, yes, I saw the shorter man with a gun shooting violently in the air at least 5 times. Okay, wait, what? That's not what you just testified. Then the defense attorney went back and asked him, I thought you said you...
By the way, I think both things could be true. He's saying that he saw Tory shoot in the air, but he saw Kelsey shoot at Meg. Remember the break 3 and 2. Tory's wrestling for the gun. He probably sees that. He probably thinks Tory's beating her up or something like that. And then Tory gets a hold of the gun. She's going to keep fighting Meg. He shoots twice in the air. They kind of stop. She hobbles over to the side. And yeah, so both things could be true. Which, by the way, you know, Tory's lawyer got to squash that side. You know why? Because he's accused of discharging a firearm. So that would be that charge. That discharging a firearm charge also is a deportable offense. It's a felony, and Tory has to beat all 3 of these. I think they knew that this witness was going to say the side. So that's why they slapped Tory. Well, I heard they wanted Tory to plead out to just shooting up in the air, some type of shit like that. They wanted Tory to plead guilty to that, but that you can't do that. And now, you know, they're in this situation where, you know, even if they don't get the charges to stick about Tory shooting at Meg, they want to get Tory shooting a gun, period. I don't know the logistics of how it works. Let's go to that first theory, which we all kind of had. Yo, they're fighting for the gun, but Kelsey intended to shoot Meg. They're fighting for the gun, and shots go off. Let's say Tory even has his hand on the gun or close to the gun. Is who gets charged for that shooting? Or who's responsible? I would say it would be Kelsey, the person who had intent and the person who was trying to do some shit. The person who's stopping him shouldn't get charged, but might come to some technicalities. I'm not sure if they're going to try to argue that. One thing I could definitely say is the prosecution case looks crazy. And it looks crazy because what they said in opening statements, right, about there is no fight, there's no struggle, there's none of that, there's no exchange of the gun. Kelsey never had the gun. There was at max a bump, but not a fight between Kelsey and Meg. Their opening statements, and that's what usually you give a summary of, this is what we're going to prove in this trial. This case now looks way different. So I would imagine that it's up to the prosecutor to tie up some loose ends with some cross-examinations and some, I don't know if they can still call witnesses, but their closing statement is going to be really important. Let me finish, keep listening to this one.
You saw the woman and then you saw the man shoot. And he's like, yeah, you have to understand, it was just a crazy free-for-all and it all happened very quickly.
Once again, the dude says he saw the woman, then the man shoot. The first couple shots is from what he believes is a woman. That would be Kelsey. Unless these motherfuckers are throwing alley-oops with the gun. Yo, I just shot 2 times. Tory, your time, you do too. You know what I mean? I got to think there's a struggle. You get what I mean? Like, who does that? Like, you only hear that, like, you know, when some rappers are capping, yo, I threw him my gun, or somebody threw me the gun type shit. You know what I mean? Nah, there was a struggle for the gun. Like, come on. It's obvious.
And then he said the most shocking thing that has come out in this case, which is that after the shots went off, one woman crawled further away, that the 3 people then went over there and beat her violently while she was on the ground. They picked her up. They looked like they were going to drag her and throw her into the river. Instead, they dragged her across the street, put her in the car, and drove off. The prosecution, we're on lunch. The prosecution is going to come back, and basically they're trying to build the case that this witness is lying because he's intimidated by the defense, that he never said anything about the muzzle flash going off near Kelsey, and now he's saying all this because he's scared of telling the truth. We'll see how that comes out on direct. Here's a fact, though. He has been consistent about a couple things. One, the 2 women were outside that car fighting for several minutes. Escalated, started with an argument, then it got quite violent, and the security guard came out to try to separate them. The idea that the jury would credit Meg's testimony, which is just completely contradicted by this eyewitness, is highly unlikely. The prosecution has major work to do to save their case, which is absolutely on life support right now.
Okay, and basically going back to my point, right? Like my whole point is this: confusion, right? Remember, the prosecutor is supposed to have a pretty good case that, even if it's not perfect, it sounds overly convincing, and essentially their narrative, their details of the story, everything that they said happened, or they said other people would say for them. For example, Meg, you know, again, she did what she needed to do, but again, her narrative is still very all over the place, right? Then it comes to Kelsey. Kelsey completely flips on them. So basically, you got to realize, and this is what, you know, for people who are trying to score this, and I've been trying to score this like almost like a heavyweight fight in a sense, round by round, day by day. It's not up to Tory to prove anything. It's up to Tory just to fuck it up and just cause some doubt. Be like, yo, this motherfucker's a liar. You can't believe him. This motherfucker's a liar. You can't believe him. Oh, this person saw something else. You know what I mean? So yes, so say 2 out of 6 people believe that Tory did it, and they're trying to describe in their testimony that Tory did it, but 4 other people said, nah, it was kind of like the girl, or actually, I don't think Tory was even near it. Bro, the jury has to fucking look at all those things and be like, it's like, if we have to be certain, there can't be no doubt when we vote that he's guilty. We have to be 100% certain. And right now, it just looks like there's a lot of doubt. So again, as this case is going, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if we have like a O.J. Simpson moment where it's like, yo, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit type situation. What's the name of that lawyer again? That was like the golden lawyer. Man, I don't even know how you get OJ to beat that case. But yeah, essentially, there's got to create doubt. You get what I mean?